Hi, it's Marianne from Thrive Admin Services, and in this video I'm going to introduce you to one of the web-based apps inside your Microsoft 365 subscription called Lists. And Lists is probably a really good alternative if you are looking at things like Trello or Asana and you like that list view option and you like being able to control how the content goes in, how to manage things like workload items or project tasks. You're not necessarily looking for that board style effect, but you like to be able to have more control over the content and data and how people can add and edit those tasks. So it's an excellent project tracking tool. We're going to create a template online so that you can see some of the features and tools that are built into lists and give you an idea of whether it's something that's suitable for you. So let's get started. So to start with, we want to be able to access Lists, and Lists is a web-based program, so I'm going to be accessing it via Google Chrome, but if you use a different web browser, then that's where you'll head. And we've gone to office.com in my web browser, which takes me to my Office dashboard, and from the app launcher here, it will be available either here in your list or under all apps. It will be here alphabetically. And it'll open in a new tab. Now, once we're here, you can see I've got some that I've created, but I'm going to create one from scratch with you so you can see some of the features and tools available. So we go new list. You won't have any of these here at the moment if you've never played with this particular feature before. So the best thing about Lists is that it continues to evolve like a lot of the Microsoft products, and you'll be able to see that there are lots of different templates for how you can do things. So I'm actually going to use one of these templates today to get you set up, to get us set up so we can actually see how we're doing this. So we're going to work with the work progress tracker, which I'm going to use as a bit of a project tracking tool. So we'll create this. And you can see what it does is it has work items, so it's designed to track priorities and progress as you work towards them. So this is the layout that you're going to get. You're going to get the work item, a description of what that item is, so it's a little bit more detail. You can create some categories, we can have some progress, we have priorities, a start date, a due date, who it's assigned to, and the notes. So we're going to create this one as a starting point. So I'm going to go use template. Now I'm going to give this a particular name, so I'm going to call this Thrive Workflow Tracking, and you can put a description on it. You can set it with a specific color. So for me, I'm going to use this color so I know it's one that I'm using for training, and we can pop an icon on it. So if you want to, you can do something like that. So I'm going to put a little calendar on it. And you can save it into a particular site. So when you've got your SharePoint group sites and your Microsoft Teams that are groups, you can allocate it to, say, a client portal or one of your particular elements of your business. You can also pop it into My Lists, which is that central just for yourself. Okay, so it's like having your planner boards, it's like having your documents, it's your lists. So I'm going to pop it there for now, and we'll go create. So because we're using a template, it's going to build all of that in the background. So here you can see that it has an inbuilt option to add a Power Automate flow, which will send a reminder to the owner of an item in the list about that it's due in 3 days. So let's include that, because this way we're putting as much in to start with without having to play around. So it's checking all the connections to other apps. So in that instance, it will need access to Power Automate and it would need access to Outlook. Okay, so it's going to check all of that in the background and make sure that I've got all of that. So you can see here, it needs me to, what's going on there? We need to check the connections. So we just need to test, and you can see here, it's popped in a little login. So I'll sign in there. And it should now, so it will, if you've never done these before, it may have an issue. If you've got really high security on your computer, it may ask for some additional credentials, so you may need to log in. So we'll go next. Go. So this is the list. So this is what it looks like, and you can see that it's very similar to, say, a board, or if you've worked with things like, say, Asana or Trello, this is the list view that you would get for that. I've worked in Asana a little bit and Monday.com, and this would be a little bit similar to that. It's that table view. So what we get is these are columns, and in each column we can format a column individually. So we can rename it, and you can call it something else. So you might call it task or item. and you can see it's renamed it here. The description and then the category, you can see here, we can edit this category. So, and then what happens, so let's start at the beginning. This one, if we, this one has simply been set up as a, if we format this column, it's just a list style, and this will be a text box that will pop up. The description, you can see here, if we edit it, it tells me here what's happening. So it's been set up with the title description. The title of the column is description. I'm just going to, sorry, everything's beeping now. A description of what that column is about or what that particular title means. And then the type, and there's a few different options you can choose from: a single line, multiple lines, a choice. So like a radio button option, a number, a currency, or a date and time. So this one's been set up as multiple lines of text so that you can actually put quite a lot in. You can put a default value in that will automatically be there. So if no one fills anything in, it would sit there normally. And then you can put some reminders in as well. There we go. That feature's been added as well. So let's cancel that. So the next one is a category, and if we look at this one in editing, you can see here these are the options. So this is when we've got this choice option. So text is fairly straightforward, but the choice option is where we actually get to create what these are. So these are the ones that have been created as part of the template. If you want to edit them, you can select them here. So I might say it might be, for me, this might be document template. This one might be this one might be, let's go with a few different options. What else? Oh, let's call this actually. Let's go. And this one might be okay. So if I go add choice, I can create something else here. And I can choose some colors and styles. I can also say no style, which will just make it blank text. Because it's a template, these have been set up that they have other features built in, like the little icons, which I wouldn't normally see. And you can add values manually. So if you want it to be only the things you put in the drop down or the available, you would leave this unticked. If you want to make sure that people can add other items, so they could type something brand new in that's completely different, then you would have this ticked. And more options here. So you can do it as a drop down or radio buttons. So drop down means that, I'll show you, but it means that they'll actually have to select one. Radio buttons means that they'll all be viewable. Whether you allow people to choose more than one thing. So do you want, and in this instance, do we want each line item to be a single particular category, or would we let it be one project that has lots of categories? So I'm going to say allow multiple selections, no. Require that this, so this is making it a required column and ensuring that it has unique values. I never bother about that. And you can validate a column as well with some formulas and syntax. So if we save that, category was edited. So progress, let's look at the settings here. So the progress one again is a multiple choice, and we've got not started, in progress, completed, blocked, or behind. So you would change those. You might have not yet started, commenced, waiting for client, feedback, review, with a particular team, or waiting approval. So you might have more stages, you might have less stages. The default value here has been selected as not started. And again, with your more options, it's a drop down or radio, but I'm going to do this one as radio buttons so you can see the difference. And we'll save that one. Priority. So this one again is going to give you, so this one is a choice with these choices of critical, high, medium, and low. And it has been done as a drop-down menu where we've written these in this way, and people will choose one. I'm going to take off can add manually, and we don't allow multiple selections on this one. It has to have one. And we've got here that these are essential. So it's a required option to have these choices built in. So the start date and due date, these are obviously going to be date setting ones. So you can see here it's date and time in a friendly format, and there's no default value put in. So, and you've also got here that it doesn't require any specific information to be in there. So that could be left blank, and it'll be the same for due date. Again, all the same due date by which the work should be completed. Assign to, so this is going to be a, so it's got type here, show profile photos. So this is where you'll actually select people and it will show people in your organization or group, which I'll show you in a second. And notes, this one will be a multiple lines of text option. Okay, so this is how we look. So how do I actually add and fill in this content? It's pretty straightforward. Up the top here we go new, or like this, and it will open this box up here, and you can see it's working its way down. It's like a form. So let's call this test client A. Report template, and I can pop a description in. So it's full technical report template, client A contact, and I can put the contact person in. I can also put here quoted fee XX, deposit 50%, balance on completion, etc., etc. The category, so here is where I choose from a drop down. So I'm going to say that this is a document template. I can also add another choice, so I can say, oh, it's actually, there's going to be some, and it will replace whatever I choose. Progress, this is where we can see it as that radio button option. So at this stage it's not started, but if I wanted to, I could type in my own value here and say pending signed agreement. The current state, or the priority, I'm going to say this is high. The start date, little calendar option here, so I can make that today, and the due date might be the end of the month. Assign to, so I type in a name. So if I start typing in my name, it's going to show me. But if I was to start typing in, say, someone else, no one's going to exist because I don't have anyone else in my organization or in this particular group. So these will always, in my instance, be assigned to me. But if you have a team of people and you're working with multiple people in your organization or in that particular site, you could assign this task to them and they will get a notification that they've been assigned a task. So here's where I can put some other notes. So I could put more detailed notes about the description, from the description, and I can add some attachments. So if I had a signed agreement or a document that they'd provided as an example, or a draft, then I can put that there as well. So we can go save, and you'll see it's now popped up here. And this is how I can view it. So I can see it as the client report. Here's all the information I've popped in. If I was to add columns, I could create, I might say that I want to put the contact name and details in as other columns. And to edit it, I would simply just click on the title there and it opens it back up. I can also pop some comments in as well. So I can add comments to a task or an item that will sit in a separate little section here. The next thing I want to show you is some different view options that you can do with lists as well. So you can see here we can edit it in grid view. So you can see it this way, exit grid view. And then down here, we've got some, you can share your list. So same way you can share OneDrive files, you can share it that way. I can export it into a CSV file. So if I had a whole heap of content and I needed to use it in a different way, or I needed to work with it offline, I could export it down into Excel. There are some automations, so things like setting a reminder. We can create some rules. So things like when a certain column changes, I can send an email to someone. So I can say when the assigned to, send an email to the person it's assigned to. Or when the due date changes, send an email to whoever I would like in that list. So there's a couple of options there. They're very rudimentary rules, so you would need to use a Power Automation separately if you wanted to do something more complicated than that. reminders for start dates and due dates. When something goes in, this is the reminder that's set up, so the flow type scheduled, set a reminder, and then this, and it will actually walk you through how many days in advance and what you want to call it, and it will set it all up automatically for you. You can go into Power Apps, Power Automate to create a flow, and Power BI to visualize the list in different ways. And then you can do some alerts as well. The other way you can do here is your views. So here, this is the list view. Compact will tighten it up a bit. The gallery does them in these box formats. Again, you can see it's not giving you all of that information, but it is available. And you can also set yourself, you can group them. So at the moment it's with one it's a bit different, but you can break them down so you would see the breakdown in different orders. You can group them by their progress. You can create a new view and you can set your own sort of layout, so you could create a specific view for yourself. And the last thing are some filters. So there are no filters. So if we go back to the gallery and all items and we want to filter, because there's only one item available, there are no filtered options. But I'm going to show you an example one I've got. This is an older list that I worked on. So this one is with some workflow. So we've got things that are existing content. So there you have it. It's a really, really simple view or introduction to lists. You'll find it in your web-based apps from office.com inside an existing Microsoft 365 business subscription. Have a look, have a play, check out some of the templates, but also if you've got some forms or content that you collect, create a list using those categories as well. If you have any questions about working with lists or anything else in your Microsoft 365 subscription, please get in touch. I'm always happy to chat all things Microsoft 365. You can pop a comment on the video or you can get in touch with me directly. You can find me by looking for Thrive Admin Services on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Catch you soon.